you're going to continue to confess your bitterness to God and thank Him for your forgiveness. You know, bitterness isn't something that you just deal with once and it's gone. You might think you've forgiven someone, and then years later, these nasty thoughts pop back in your mind. And, you know, you just have to go back to God and be like, you know, I admit this is what I'm thinking. Thank you so much that you've forgiven me for these thoughts that I'm having right now. So let's think, what should we do with this information? Well, first of all, receive God's forgiveness. God has forgiven you for everything that you've ever done against Him. And He wants you to experience that. He doesn't want you to live this life and end it trying to pay back to Him, because you aren't able to. And we need to let go of our bitterness and forgive. You know, there might be someone you're thinking about as I'm teaching, and, you know, that person who you just can't let go of what they did to you. God's asking you to trust Him and to let go. You're only hurting yourself if you hold on to bitterness. So, that's forgiveness. Next week, like Pop said, Nick's going to talk about why we should live for God. Does anyone have any questions or comments based on what I said? Cool. Well then, Leslie.
I like how you said that forgiveness isn't the same as trust, because I think a lot of times when someone's really like ruined their trust with us, they'll try to guilt us or manipulate us into thinking that if we don't trust them, then we don't forgive them.
Yeah.
And so they might say, like, well, why don't you trust me, or why don't you forgive me? And they'll try to guilt you. You know, even though I killed your first puppy, let me babysit your second puppy. or like, even though I cheated on you, you should give me another chance if you're loving. If you really love me, then you give me another chance.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, in dating relationships or puppy sitting and other things, you know, or even maybe like friends or parents or siblings, like, we don't just walk into the same situation and allow ourselves to get hurt again. Yeah. But we don't, you know, we don't like hold bitterness against them.
Right. Yeah. God calls on us to forgive everyone. There's really not a situation where He says it's okay not to forgive. But He doesn't call us to trust everyone at all. Trust is earned. Yeah.
I think another cool thing about God's forgiveness of us and then our forgiveness of others is that it means that we're not victims of the ways that we've been hurt. I don't know if any of you have ever been in a situation where somebody did something that was really damaging and you thought that, you know, because of that hurt, there were certain things about your life that are irreversible, that you could never get over, that could never change. You know, I had some things in my family in the past that I've thought at times, you know, this means that I'm destined to turn out this way. This is how I'm going to treat my family. This is why my relationships are going to be restricted in their quality. This is how it's going to affect me as a parent and all this stuff. But the more I think about what God has done for me, and then the more I can turn and sort of release some of the consequences of those things and believe what God says about His forgiveness of them and my forgiveness of the people in my life that have hurt me, the more I realize, okay, I'm not doomed by what people have done to me. Yeah. And so one cool thing about forgiveness is that it means you're not a victim, or you don't have to be.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us could probably experience a lot of freedom and a lot of joy that we're missing because we don't even realize how the bitterness we're hanging on to is totally choking out things that God wants to do in our lives.
That's so true. So true. When we forgive, God is able to heal the damage that was caused by that person. Yeah.
I also like the part where you said, like, bitterness doesn't always hurt the other person. I kind of thought that bitterness does always hurt the other person.
Yeah.
Just having it inside is also just as damaging.
Yeah. Bitterness does not, usually, doesn't even affect the other person. It just affects you. Yeah. Brendan.
I like what you said, too, about how, like, forgiveness isn't just, like, this one-time thing that, like, you know, once we make that choice, like, we'll never have to, like, feel or make that choice again.
Right.
You know, it's like I've had a lot of times in my life where like I've chosen to forgive a certain person, and like I see them again like months later, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, damn, that didn't work. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's something that we have to work on. I like that quote from that guy. You know, it's like I forgave her over the course of a year.
Right.
I'm even still.
Yeah. Yeah, since he made that statement, he's probably had more payments. Yep. Kate.
I fall into this trap frequently where I think if my feelings don't like correspond with the action that I know that I should be taking, then I think it's really fake and it's not worth even doing the action. Like, so if I don't feel like forgiveness for this person, then what's the point of even like trying to like move towards them in like a loving way, because I'm just gonna be fake and it's not even gonna be like real or whatever. But then often I'll feel myself being like, but I wish I could. Like, I know in theory that that's the right thing to do, but whatever, I don't even want to because I don't feel it. But something that I've learned and like been confronted with a lot recently is like, you don't, you never should like look to your feelings as like an accurate source of what reality is. And so it's also really freeing, because forgiveness isn't a feeling, to think like, if I, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. Like, if you know in your head that this thing is the correct thing to do, being forgiveness, then do it, and your feelings will eventually catch up later. But I know, if anybody's like me, sometimes I get really easily ensnared by that lie of if I don't feel it, then what's the point?
Yeah, sometimes we think if we don't feel it, then we're just being fake. But that's not true. Our feelings are totally unreliable. And so it is actually freeing to say, yeah, right now I feel really pissed off and I'm angry and I'm not feeling in the forgiving mood. But because I know God says this is true, I'm going to choose to forgive the person. Then you're not a slave to your feelings. You can make decisions based on truth. It's a good feeling. Yeah. Cool. Why don't we have some people pray? I'll be the last one, and then we'll have a wow.
Yeah, God, I pray that we all have the ability to forgive those that have really hurt us, and that we come to reality and we realize that this life's only temporary, and that we need to forgive those like Christ forgave us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, God, I just want to thank you for showing us that we can forgive each other. And I also pray that you can help me with my teaching next week, because I know I'm really nervous about it.
God, thank you that you forgave us, like scriptures say, when we were your enemies. You still wanted to have a relationship with us. I just pray that if there's anyone here tonight who hasn't made that decision to accept your forgiveness, they would seriously consider doing so, or at least consider asking around.
Flowing off of that, things that we can look forward to now that some of us have accepted you, that even when we were enemies, that you forgave us, so what more are you going to do for us? I think the possibility of things that you want to and are going to do for us, now that we are your sons and daughters, not your enemies.
Yeah. Thanks, God, that you aren't asking us to do anything you haven't already done, and that whenever we feel stuck or enslaved by our bitterness, we can really look to you and the cross and choose to trust in what you say, that forgiveness is better than remaining in this bitterness. And I pray that if there are people in our lives that we have held on to bitterness against, I pray that you'd help us just let that go. Give it over to you. Know that you died for that sin as well, and that you would heal us and give us freedom from that bitterness. Thank you so much for forgiving us, like everyone else has said.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.